Hello YouTube, and welcome to another DBTGamer special. We are going to be taking a look at The Last Guardian, An Extraordinary Story. This is a art book combined with a strategy guide and a few other goodies. So let's get started. Last Guardian is one of my favourite games for the PS4. I thoroughly enjoyed Shadow of Colossus, and I also enjoyed Ico, which was on the PS2 and PS3. Just thought I'd show off my game here. I was thinking about, for this video, putting some gameplay footage, possibly in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, but we'll just have to see how well this video comes together. I am still thinking about things. Anyway, let's look at the cover itself. I do like the and the boy character here, and Guardian Beast Trico, or Trico, just them looking at each other. It's a symbol of friendship, and there's some feathers on the back and a barcode. Very, very blank back. Now, there is one thing about this cover which I'm not the biggest fan of. When you take off the dust cover, the words disappear. I'm not a big fan of that. I would have liked the words to stay on. I know it's like an art sort of thing, so that you can have both the title of the book to stay on. Anyway, let's open up. Blank artwork. This is truly beautiful. Now, if you haven't played Last Guardian, this video will include some spoilers. So watch at your own risk, I suppose. If you're worried about spoilers, perhaps come back to this video when you've played the game itself. Right. Very nice artwork of Trico there. I've actually used some of this artwork to draw some pictures in the past. And it's a nice art book. It helps with as a reference material, I suppose. I'm going to do my best to pan between the pages and comment on them. There is quite a lot of text, but I'm not going to read it because it would take me forever. This video is mostly about the pretty pictures and the pencil sketches. There's even some looks at the developers and some of their ideas and inspiration for the game. I think they actually do talk about the cancelled PS3 version, which was... I don't know how finished the PS3 version was, but at my rough guess, it'll be at least 75% finished when they decided to switch over to the PS4. So yeah, here's some of the game developers, concept art, and other stuff. This is a really nice collector's piece, I think. There was an art book with the Last Guardian collector's edition, which also came with a little scratch there, not little, a rather big statue with also a little boy figurine. And it was a genuinely nice statue. Part of me did want to buy it, but another part of me was like, David, this is the expensive collector's edition. You don't know where you're going to put this collector's edition statue figurine thing. Also, they were made in quite a limited quantity, and I wasn't so sure if I'd be able to get one. Anyway, we're now into a section of books where it talks about the beast Trico itself, which is definitely one of my favourite animals in video games ever. It's somewhat difficult to describe what Trico is. It's part dog, part kitty, part bird, part lion. I don't know. It's a combination, amalgamation of animals. It's adorable, and I really like this creature character. If I was to talk about it as like one animal, I suppose a griffin makes sense. Yeah, a griffin kind of makes sense. But the combination animals I mentioned earlier also helps to describe this animal. Throughout the game, when you're exploring the relationship between the boy and Trico, it's like a symbiotic relationship. The boy needs Trico to escape from the castle, and Trico needs the boy to access areas that he's too big for, solve certain puzzles together. Trico needs the boy to find him food, so it's like a relationship between your cat, a relationship between your dog, or other pet animal. Although Trico is definitely bigger and more dangerous than the average house cat or house dog, or other animal that you may have. These statue things, I'm not so sure exactly what their enemy name is. I always called them the Guardians, because they're like these suits of armor that guard the castle, and they can attack you and pick you up and take you away when you play as the boy. And it also looks like they did some pretty messed up things to the Trico beasts. Throughout the game, there is a lot of wonder in this game. You know, why are the beasts, you know, are they? You know, is the beast Trico a good creature? Is he an evil creature? That is quite a loaded question on itself. It's a lot of wondering. Sorry, I went backwards there. I thought I missed a page. This is quite a nice piece of artwork. This is the actual castle itself and the volcano-like mountain alcove thing that it resides in. So yeah, there's a lot of wonder. Is Trico an evil character? Is he a good character? So yeah, I like all these pictures of like mythical creatures that they put in between the chapters. We're now on to the strategy guide part of the book, and what do I think of this book as a strategy guide? It's useful. You know, I give it a solid. As a strategy guide, it's a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8. There's a nice big map, which is all colour coded, which really helps. It goes through every section of the game, which is really helpful. It even helps with obtaining some trophies and achievements throughout the game, and it does this rather well. Although, okay, I'm going to rant here, because recently I attempted to collect a bunch of trophies in Last Guardian, just so I could experience again. You know, it gave me an excuse just to play through the entire game again. And I looked at the trophy list and, you know, picked out the ones that I'd done so far, and then picked out other ones that I could do with ease. And most of them went well. Emphasis on the word most of them. I would strongly not recommend trying to platinum Last Guardian. These are the barrels which you give to Trico. These are his food barrels. I'm going to talk more about the barrels in a moment, because the barrels are a somewhat frustrating thing. And I'll complicate the emotion towards these barrels. I'll explain in a moment. And nice shot of the boy here. The mirror room. The mirror is like a mechanic you use in the game. You can use this item to tell Trico where to point its tail, and the tail shoots energy blasts or lightning. It's one of the few attacks that you can order Trico to do early on in the game. it takes a while for Trico and the boy to build a relationship, and then you can eventually give him actual commands, and you can actually have more control over him. Anyway, back to what I was saying earlier. Yeah, I do really like this game. It's good. And on the subject of completing the game and getting all the achievements, trophies, whatever you would like to call them, there are certain ones which are really difficult. Example, beat the game without dying. Good luck. You in this game, because of the way the controls work and because of the hazardous that comes with controlling a giant dog and the boy both at the same time, you're gonna die. So getting through the entire game without dying is gonna be difficult, to say the least. Trico as a character, he's very hesitant to jump into water. And there are some trophies that are based around, beat the game in a certain time limit. I have done... Ooh, this is a beautiful picture. I really like this one. It shows how feathery and fluffy Trico is. He's a fluffy boy. And, yeah. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, there are a few trophies based around time limits, and I have managed to obtain all but one of the time limit trophies in Last Guardian. Oh, and Ico as well. It's one of those games that it takes memorization, luck, skill, and in order to get these times. So, personally, I think this game is a piece of art, and it's one of those games that shouldn't really be rushed. It's something that you need to sometimes just stop for a moment, take a look at the surroundings, and just see what is in front of you before you figure out where to go next, how to get there, how to solve this puzzle, and how to do it without dying, and all that stuff. It's not really a game you should rush. So solving the game's puzzles and beating the game in a time limit is a somewhat arduous task and feels somewhat counterintuitive, and it's not very enjoyable. Oh dear, Trico's angry because the Guardians are here to take his friend away. His only friend, who is the boy. The boy does not have a name. Just in case you are wondering. As far as I know, it doesn't anyway. I've looked online and he doesn't seem to have a name. He also gets high on this misty sort of vapory stuff. So this is the sort of thing that will cause Trico to just not pay attention. He will literally just stand there and just sniff this stuff. He'll be like, Trico, come on. And then you have to sort of try and solve more puzzles just to get him to pay attention to you again. He's an intelligent creature, and I would say at the very most 70% of the time he will listen to you. That's where you've got the most commands of the game. Earlier in the game, it's maybe 60-40% chance he'll 60% chance he'll listen to you. So, as you build this relationship and increase your understanding of how the game works, it will eventually click and you will eventually get it. Other trophies that I struggled with in the game. We're on to the barrels now. Engage rant mode. I attempted to collect every barrel in the game. I use a combination of guides on the internet. I used this art book strategy guide a little bit, and I failed. The game itself doesn't... It counts how many barrels you collected throughout your playthroughs, but it also counts every playthrough. So that means if you collect 40 barrels in one playthrough, and your next playthrough you collect 20 barrels only, it just adds them together. Some barrels are required to continue the game, some of them aren't. But I failed to collect all the barrels, which was a gold trophy. I was very careful, very meticulous, and I thought I collected all of them, but I don't know how I failed. And you can't always go back to check where things are because of how the game saves and how the game handles checkpoints. And the game does exactly track which barrels you've collected in which area. This could be easily patched in with an update. This is one of the moments that I felt really sorry for Trico because his tail was crushed in a door. He was really, really saddened. I'm like, no, my puppy friend! Trico is quite a curious beast. He will often pop his head around the corner and go, oh. And you have to point him in the right direction to go to things. And that sort of thing. This page I found especially useful. It's all the commands for Trico that you can give him once you obtain the command ability. I suppose the enhanced command abilities, this is where you get a lot more control over him. And it's really, really helpful. So, yeah. There are other trophies which I haven't even dared to attempt. There's one trophy where Trico will get hurt throughout the game, and he'll get spears thrown him. Poor thing. There's these searchlights which make this game into a stealth mission. Quite nerve-wracking. The hurt trophy I couldn't do either because you have to remove the spears and wipe all the blood off Trico as fast as possible. That is literally your hint. And to be brutally honest, people who design the trophies for this game, that is one of the most garbage trophy hints I have ever seen, ever, period, because you'll never know if you've done it right. Or if you've done it fast enough. It's just... So, yeah. There is actually a virtual... I'll explain about virtual reality in a moment. As I said earlier, there is a virtual reality experience that's free to download on the PS4. I haven't really played this virtual reality experience, but from what I know, it's quite a short virtual reality experience, and you need the PlayStation VR in order to even play this thing in the first place, sadly. Personally, you could probably do this also with like a first-person viewpoint and just a control stick and maybe a few buttons. Hint it, nudge nudge Sony. Not everything has to be exclusively VR. Make this experience available to everybody. But yeah, it lets you look at Trico closer and you can pet him and that sort of thing. It's just a very simple virtual reality demo, and that's all I really have to say about it. It's a nice thing. Just a shame I can't experience it because I don't have PlayStation VR. But yeah, as you can see, the boy here is holding a helmet. You can use the helmet to place on switches, or you can use them to activate guardians in order to solve puzzles and other things. Now, you may think the boy is defenseless and a pretty worthless character. No. This is kind of an illusion in the game. Most of the time in combat, Trico will be the one that's the muscle and you'll be the brains. Oh dear, the mirrors. I'll speak about the mirrors later, because they're quite important. They're one of Trico's biggest fears. But yeah, the boy himself, he can jump onto the back of enemies and sort of distract them or slow them down. He can... If a guardian is knocked onto the floor by Trico into the stunning position, he can pull their heads off and just kill them outright. Yeah, the boy's a force to be reckoned with if he can do that often enough. And also, you can run at the guardians full speed, then press the square button to roll into them or push them, and you could possibly knock them off the edge of a cliff or knock them off a platform, get them into the stunning position, and then pull the heads off. So the boy does have combat skills. They're just very limited, but they can be useful. On to the mirrors. Yeah, the mirrors are Trico's worst fear. If he sees these things, he will instantly start to back away and behave like a cowardly puppy who's had a gun held up to his face, the poor thing. He really gets very frightened very quickly, and he really doesn't like them. So you have to 9 times out of 10 destroy these things before Trico will even move, because they frighten him. So yeah, I hope you enjoy looking through this art book with me, because I'm doing my best to make it as interesting as possible. Lately, I've been thinking about my videos quite a lot. I am quite close to the end of Blossom Tales, so I'm hoping to finish that possibly before the end of April, at the very latest before the end of May. I am thinking about bringing back New Super Lucky's Tale. I'm just putting it on hold at the moment to focus on Blossom Tales, because I'm close to the end of the game and I do want to finish it. And I am trying to get rid of some of my backlog with my video games. So yeah, throughout the Last Guardian there is a lot of high platforming and balancing involved, and it can be quite scary if everyone's got a fear of heights. Okay, technically video games can't hurt you and nothing bad can happen, but seeing all these high cliffs, it can still give you, those I'm really high up, trembly sort of thing. Now, personal self, I'm okay with heights, but the higher I get, the more anxious I get. So, it depends how high I am and how experienced I am with that sort of height. When I was younger, I used to actually do rock climbing after school. I've also done abseiling down a 60-foot viaduct in the past. And I've done rock climbing on a climbing wall and out and a little bit outside. Finish off the video. So, yeah, I'm a climber. I like climbing. But I'm a very cautious and careful climber. I'm definitely not what you call a fast climber. So, yeah. More green mist. Also, throughout the game, there are some puzzles based around swimming to get to certain areas and getting Trico to jump into the water and help you. There's even one puzzle where you have to grab onto Trico's back and swim through the water whilst beyond Trico. And it's one of those points of the game where it really tests the relationship of you, the player, and the animal, Trico. And the story itself in this game it's touching, and it definitely got to me, and it's difficult to put this in some way. Also, sometimes the Guardians will hold weapons, example, the mirrors and swords, and they will definitely throw spears there. Yeah. The arena. This is one puzzle which drove me insane. The idea is to stand on this catapult thing, and Trico will bounce you up through the grate into the next area of the game. And you have to unlock a gate so that he can get up there as well. It's a fun puzzle because Trico just steps on it and you go, whee! And you're like, if you're not careful, you're banging your head on the ceiling and you'll get a concussion and you'll quickly hit the ground again. There is a puzzle where you can actually send a helmet up there, and if you get the helmet up there, you can give it to a statue, then you can kill the statue and get a barrel behind the statue. This is not an easy task. It's very, very frustrating. Absolute nightmare. Here's the bit I talked about earlier with the teaching Trico to swim and getting him to help you swim through areas that the boy can't reach because, well, lung capacity. So, yeah. The story of Ico is basically an escort mission. You are a young boy who has to rescue a young girl called Yoda. if you like Last Guardian, I would definitely recommend getting this art book. Towards the end of the book, there are some pages which are devoted to Ico and Shadow of Colossus. It's not a full-blown art book of Shadow of Colossus or Ico. This is mostly focused on Last Guardian, but there are some words and pictures about those games. Also, just thought I'd bring this into the picture as well. This is my Ico Shadow of Colossus PS3 HD Classic Collection. Now, there are some videos which you can download from the PS3 shop which show the development of Ico and Shadow of Colossus. And if you look carefully, there's also some references to their next game at the time, which was Last Guardian, in those videos. So, yeah. I suppose I could talk about Ico and Shadow of Colossus a bit more. This is the port that I played. Now, a lot of people see the PS2 and the PS3 port, especially. The PS3 port is like an inferior port of a Shadow of Colossus. Personally, I don't think it's that bad a port. I think it looks decent and it plays decent as long as you go into the menu and change some of the controls around so that things are a little bit more normal, like X should be jump, not whatever the game decides to be jump, which is triangle. So yeah, with a few control tweaks, this version is perfectly playable and enjoyable. I was thinking about buying the PS4 version of Shadow of Colossus, but I'll come back to why in a moment. This is one of the puzzles in the game where you have to where the boy's in like a cage, and you got to use Trico to nudge him out of it, and it's a rather tricky puzzle because there's a lot of rolling around and physics and hamster ball stuff. It's quite crazy. So yeah. Main reason why I have passed on the Shadow of Colossus HD PS4 port so far is, well, first things first, I was already pretty happy with the PS3 version. And when they made the PS4 version, mostly it looked like a graphic upgrade and a control upgrade, and that was perhaps a physics upgrade. And I'd already played the game through like 5 times because I collected a lot of the achievements in the PS3 version, and there wasn't really much more I could possibly get out of the game. I am not going to explain this scene. This is goes into spoiler territory, and the picture somewhat speaks for itself, but I'm not going to explain anything because it's something that needs to be experienced, like a lot of this game. Yeah, this is one of my favourite battles in the game where Trico sort of overcomes his fear of the mirrors and just goes absolute rage mode and attacks just the Guardians. He unleashes the beast inside. He is an angry dog, an angry puppy. This is one of the most unstable areas of the game. Everything falls down quite quickly. There are points in the game where if you fall, Trico will attempt to grab you with his mouth or his tail. Sometimes this can be rather tricky. There are some trophies which are based around being grabbed a certain amount of times, and yeah, that sort of thing. Another trophy I managed to get was pulling enemies' heads off and hanging on the enemy's back for a good 20-30 seconds. It was quite difficult because you have to angle the analog stick and hold on tight and know when to let go so that you can stay on, and then know when to grab back on with your hands. It's quite complicated, the rhythm sort of thing. But if you learn this, it can be a useful thing to learn through the game. Yeah, I wasn't exactly on board playing Shadow of Colossus on PS4. I wanted to play it, but I played so much of the PS3 version, and I've also played the PS2 version quite a lot, when I borrowed it off Lucifer Surf. I just didn't really feel like playing it again so soon. I'm not saying the game didn't need to be remade, it just felt like they could have done more with the remake, I argue. This scene is a very important moment in the game. There is sort of a battle which leads Trico weak, wounded, and you instantly want to help him and fix what happened to him. I'm not going to explain too much because it's again something you need to experience for yourself. Sorry if I'm being too vague for people's liking, but I am trying to keep the mysteries of this game. If you haven't experienced it before, but you want to look at this hard book with me. Trico can fly, eventually. A lot of the time, it's mostly falling with style or gliding. Yeah. Right. We are coming down towards the end of the book here, so hope I can finish this off before 40 minutes hits. This is one of the last battles of the game, and it's quite annoying because you have to use the... You have to put the helmets on the enemies, therefore endanger yourself, and also you have to charge these locks by using your mirror. Throughout the game, you do lose your mirror, which is one of your main abilities to command Trico, and when you lose it, you're like, no, my mirror! It's generally... the mirror makes you feel powerful, it makes you feel in control and like you have a chance, but when you do lose it, you're like, shit, what do I do? Oh, these giant orby ball things, these are quite frightening. They can cause Trico to be in like a rage and sort of like a emotionless monster. It'll even attack you, the player, and it's quite frightening because your only friend in this game is just turned into a monster. And I suppose any animal can turn into a monster and become like that, or a person. It's a thing that can happen, but these ones are quite terrifying. And throughout the game, there is one point where you do meet like evil versions or mind-controlled versions of Trico, and it is a somewhat terrifying experience just to see these two beautiful creatures just fight. Needless to say, just seeing these two destroy each other and fight, it got to me. You ever seen the original Pokemon movie? Not the CGI version, that was definitely not as good as the original. The original Pokemon movie. You hear the song, "Brother, my brother, what are we fighting for? Why do we have this war?" I kind of got flashbacks of that. Charizard biting each other, Blastoise punching each other, Venusaurs just headbutting each other. That was my experience when I saw two Tricos fight. I was like, no, don't fight! This is bad! And there you got Pikachu and Pikachu slapping each other. Yeah. Here's some storyboards on like story and stuff. I'm gonna quickly just turn through these. And I'll talk about Shadow Colossus PS4 a little bit more. Ultimately, the PS4 and Shadow Colossus, I wanted more out of it in terms of content and in terms of like a single player campaign. It's nice that they fully rebuilt the game from ground up to for the PS4, but I was hoping, maybe this was kind of like a foolish hope, but I don't care because I am the sort of person who always has foolish hopes and expectations for remakes and remasters. And sometimes these foolish hopes are answered and stuff, but we don't always get what we want. Anyway, some people know Shadow Colossus actually had cancelled Colossi boss fights, and originally those could be like over 40 colossi to fight, but it was cut down to like 32, and then it was cut down to like 24, and then eventually it was cut down to the 16 which we have in the game. But if you look on the internet, and if you look at Shuttlecock itself, here are some nice shots of Trico flying. Some really nice storyboard art here. Anyway, and towards the end of the game, Trico and the boy do part ways, and it's quite an emotional experience. You have to say goodbye to this animal who you've shared a relationship, and it's a happy moment. The boy can go back to his family. Trico has to leave behind. It's also a very sad moment. It's a very ambivalent moment, and you may cry. I did, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. And it's one of those moments that definitely sticks with you throughout the whole experience of the game. And this game, it's best enjoyed on its first time. I'm not saying you can't enjoy it through multiple playthroughs. You can, but most of the impact is the first playthrough. Here's the trophies. And some of these are fun to collect, but some of these I would definitely not recommend collecting. But there is a complete trophy guide as well in here. And here's the collectible barrels. There is one trophy which is tied to the game's hint system, and this is one of the dumbest trophies I've ever played. Main reason is, another rant here, you have to either play the game in a stupid way, so you have basically no idea what you're doing, or you have to play the game in a very slow way in order to obtain certain hints in the game. And it's laborious, it's tedious, it's just an absolute chore pain in the arse. Overall, not fun. One last trophy I want to talk about is the 13 holes that you can find for Trico to put himself through. He puts his holes in. He's the thing that sort of plays peekaboo with the boy. It's cute and adorable, and it's kind of a fun experience to get, but it's also tricky to find all the holes and keep track of them, just like with the 48 barrels. Bloody barrels. So, yeah. Going back to Shadow Colossus, about what I said earlier, there are 8 bosses which were left out of Shadow Colossus that were either in concept art form, had models, or had textures. In some ways they had worked on them, and in some ways they were, I'm not saying finished, but they were at least in the concept stage, or at least in the model stage, or the point is beta stuff. And I love beta stuff, and I was hoping that for the PS4 version of Shadow Colossus that they would somehow include these 8 beta colossi as like a DLC or extra bit of the story, or something like that. And apparently these bosses were really hard, so it would give the people who've already played the game like an extra challenge or something to actually warrant buy the game for again. Throughout the game, collecting barrels and complete the game, you do actually get rewards. Depending on how many barrels you collect, you can get certain costumes for the boy himself, bid costumes, and items. These are quite fun to unlock and fun to collect, and some of them actually have practical implications. There's one that lets you paint Trico different colours, which is quite fun. So, yeah. Here's some beautiful artwork of Ico. This is the English cover and the Japanese cover. The Americans got a terrible cover. Look it up online. It is one of the worst covers I've ever seen in video games ever. I may even splice a picture in, but I do not like the American artwork. It's terrible. And here's some more Ico stuff. And I believe this is Shadow of the Colossus. More Ico. I do like Ico. It's a good game, but it's quite a long escort mission as well. And here's some artwork from Ico, which I wouldn't mind playing through again. Another reason why the PS4 version didn't always appeal to me is that they only included Shadow Colossus. I would have liked them to have, done the same for Ico and put them both on the same disc. So yeah, the controls for Ico, they're quite difficult as well. He's a very stiff character. His combat's also very inexperienced, but he is a boy after all. Just more Shadow Colossus stuff here. Wanderer, the character who lost his girlfriend, wife, love interest, and journeyed to the lands to see if there was any hope of reviving her. It's a story of... It's quite a sad story, the things that people go through just to get someone they love back. Letting go can be hard. Or a friend, family member. It's difficult. Sorry if that seemed a little bit sentimental or harsh, but we've all been there. It's hard to lose someone, and it's not always easy just to move on and let go. And throughout playing Shadow Colossus, I definitely felt Wanderer's sadness and his struggle. He was truly willing to do anything to get his wife, girlfriend back. Last bit here, there's a interview with a few... I am going to butcher this, but I'm going to try here. Fumiayoto? Yuda? Yuda? My Japanese is terrible. If I butchered your name, I am sorry. But I tried. At least I tried. It is quite a nice interview to read through. This book is all beautifully translated into English. There's very little Japanese at all. And it is a nice thing to have in my collection. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to the family member who bought this for me. Anyway, that is the end of the art book. And that is the end of this video. So I'll just close things out here. I hope you all enjoyed looking through this art book with me. I do plan to record more videos like this in the future. I have some more art books in my art book drawer. I would highly recommend playing Last Guardian. It's a good game, but it does take time to learn its mechanics. Like the time to build a relationship with an animal. At times it can be a little bit janky, a little bit frustrating, but ultimately it is a good game and it's definitely worth experiencing. I would also recommend experiencing Ico and Shadow Colossus either on PS3, PS4, or PS2 if you're feeling retro. Just one quick thing here before I game that's very similar to The Last Guardian. Both the boy and the young girl need each other in order to escape a castle. It's a story of friendship. There are possibilities that the young boy and the young girl could be in love in some ways, but mostly I feel like it's a story of friendship, and the boy is doing his best to be a hero and get Yoda out of this castle and to safety. Overall, I do like Ico. It's just a somewhat stiff game to play in terms of platforming, combat, and yeah, but it is a good game. I definitely would recommend it. It would be nice to see this game get a remaster or port. I'm surprised they didn't do it along with Shadow Colossus when they ported that to the PS4. Anyway, thank you for watching this DBTGamer special. I will see you guys next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe.